Happy hump day, y'all. Welcome back to your midweek guilty pleasure and the Salty Goddess podcast. I'm Anne Margaret Perry. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all still moving forward and towards some really, really great progress, personally, professionally, all the way around. So let's talk about this week's topic about feedback. How about we talk about a list of all the salty F's for feedback? Let's talk about how important feedback is for growth. And without feedback, you can't possibly know how well you're doing or how poorly you're doing. So, one of the first things you have to recognize is your ego. Is your ego fragile? Because if it is, you need to be able to recognize that and put it aside. I promise you that growth will not happen when you're in defense mode. It doesn't. If you believe that what is being told to you is coming at you in an aggressive way or in an insulting way or offensive way, you're definitely not going to listen to the content of that feedback, whether it's constructive, whether it's not constructive. But you have to understand whether or not it's your ego that's interpreting the message in an offensive or attacking manner. It might be you, and it may not be the messenger. It might be your inability or your block to accept that feedback. Listen, feedback isn't always comfortable. It isn't sexy all the time, and it can be embarrassing. Nobody wants to hear that whatever they're doing isn't being well received by someone else or that there are improvements that could be made. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody. I promise you, nobody does. But it happens, and we have to get right with that. We aren't all perfect. You've heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. You're going to get sick of hearing it. But I promise you that when you are in defense mode, you will not hear any message other than a message that aligns with your own personal feelings. You think you're going to grow from that? I promise you, you won't. You won't. I also promise you that if you come at this defensively for someone who's bringing you a message of honesty, and their message comes from a place of caring and concern and development, like they want to see you develop into a stronger person, you will not, by any stretch of the imagination, get them to come back to you again if you go off on them because your fragile ego couldn't handle the message. So look in that mirror. You have to. You have to recognize that you feel a specific way and that message may not have come to you from an offensive place. Okay? Filter. The next F of feedback. Not all feedback comes from an honest place. There are individuals you will encounter in your lifetime that give you feedback from a place that's not love, caring, and concern, and it's not about your growth. It's about their inability to handle that you're a little bit different, or, that they're not comfortable with what you are, who you are, or your growth. Please trust me when I tell you. So run all feedback through your filter, like for discernment. Don't absorb everything immediately, all right? Keep the gold, keep the good stuff, the high-end stuff, and toss the garbage. Just remember, everyone who has an opinion doesn't mean their opinion is worth listening to. You've heard me say this before. If they're not feeding me, funding me, or me, I don't care about their opinion. So when I talk about this feedback, look to people that you would want to mentor you and and look at their feedback. Understand some individuals aren't comfortable with growth. Some individuals don't believe in rocking the boat. They don't want you to do anything different. So their feedback is from a place of safety. It's from a place of safety. That it's not necessarily coming from a bad place. And they think that they're helping you. But the truth is, it's not helpful. It's not helpful. So run all of those things through your filter. Also, make sure that when you bring your team together, remember I talked about this in one of our other podcasts, one of the other episodes. When you bring people in to be your team, make sure you have a couple of individuals that you can bounce ideas off of so that you can determine, is this feedback appropriate for my present path? Is this feedback appropriate for the growth I wish to sustain or to obtain and develop? Use more than one perspective. And honestly, you might end up with a hybrid of multiple perspectives that will put you on the path that you need to be on to get your job done, your growth job, and move on that path. One of the other major F's in feedback is flexibility. We could also put that as a P in partnerships and talk about pivot. Be willing to pivot. Be flexible. Be willing to bend your perspective without breaking your integrity. Remember, compromise when you can. That's that flexibility, that ability to pivot without breaking your integrity. Extremely, extremely important. Story time. In my younger years, if I received what I would have considered negative feedback, trust me when I tell you, I'd take a burn to it. I'd get all hot under the collar. F words would be flying, and they wouldn't be food and fun words, I'll tell you. Until I started to understand the feedback that I was receiving and the place from which it came, and that it wasn't an attack on me as a person. It was guidance so that I could be a better version of myself. Trust me when I tell you, when we're young, and I mean young, okay, our teens, our early 20s, we are certain that we have all the answers. We're also certain we're invincible and we're going to live forever. You realize real quick that's not going to be the case, all right? As your time engaging with others continues to develop, and you go from this microcosm, which is this little 6-foot sphere in front of you and around you, to a more of a 10,000-foot view, okay? You get a better understanding of where things come from and where you are in retrospect or in respect to other situations. So, as a matter of fact, the more you know that you don't know. And that is at least how I have felt. And of course, my lived experience may not be your lived experience, right? Just remember that. Everybody travels their journey at a different pace, starting at a different place, and coming to different guide markers along the way at different times in their journey. All right. So just understand that. Be flexible. Be willing to pivot. Be willing to compromise. All right. And make sure you run everything through your filter of discernment to see, does this align with the growth that I want for myself? Does this align with the person that I want to be? Or the job that I want to undertake? The education I wish? Now, long time ago, because I'm ancient. I wanted to go to nursing school. And I spoke to someone that at the time I had a ton of respect for. And this individual said to me, "You don't want to be a nurse. You don't want to be a nurse. You're good with computers. Do computers. You don't want to do medicine. Don't do that." So when I signed up to go to college, I signed up to do computer programming. Great, wonderful. It's what I had done in high school. I was good at it. I got great grades. But I found it rather boring, to be honest. And one day, I ran into someone that I hadn't seen since I was a younger teen, and I ended up getting exposed to medicine, pre-hospital medicine, okay? And I was immediately smitten. I was like, this is where I belong. This is my thing. These are my people. This is for me. And I kid you not, that was on a Saturday evening. And Monday morning, I was on the door going into academic advising to change my major and to set myself up for different classes for the fall semester. And it was enlightening, that exposure that I had. And I realized it's really where I belong. And I thought to myself, why did that individual tell me not to do this when I just knew 3 years prior this is what I wanted to do? I should have just done it. Now, that individual, they were coming from a place of care and concern, all right? I had just not too recently lost my dad. He had died, and they were concerned that I was choosing this path because I thought it would be something my father would want for me or whatever. And so the conversation, once I said, this is what I want to do, immediately turned to, no, you don't want to do that. There was no question and answer period. There was no, well, why do you want to do that? Right? But this person did think that they were giving me great advice. Now, was it crappy advice? No. Because at the end of the day, I ended up, yes, I spent 2 semesters studying more, computer programming. So I could have been 2 semesters ahead of the game. But it also gave me time to heal from the death of my father. It gave me time to understand, all right, I got a taste of that. So now I have no compunction, no reservation about changing and pivoting and being flexible and starting back at zero towards this degree. So that's what I did. Now, I don't consider that person to have come from a poor place of love and care and concern, right? But they didn't know me well enough to understand what was fueling my desire to get into medicine. I found biology extremely amazing. I found the human body absolutely like one of the most astounding machines on this planet. So for me, had I maybe had that conversation, I would have maybe let them understand that I was in a different place than they thought I was. So remember, communication is extremely important, but being flexible, being willing to bend your perspective without breaking your integrity, and knowing that it is absolutely okay to pivot. It is okay to start over. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 70. I don't care if you're 17. If something's not for you anymore, move on. There's nothing stopping you. You can do anything you put your mind to. I will give you one other piece of advice. And this is something that my daddy told me. And it was that if somebody can talk you out of something you wanted to do, you didn't really want to do it to begin with. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. How bad do you want to do it? That's the question. So we've gone over flexibility, filter, and fragile egos. Let's talk about what it's going to take to get you to that growth. And that's focus. Focus on the message of the feedback, not on how it made you feel, but on the truth that's contained within the message. Take emotion out of it. Take the burn out of it and think about what's being said to you. Is it the truth? Is this an occupation? Is this a project that is not really your bag of chips, if you will? Is it not your true desire, your true love, your true interest? You want to focus on what the real message is, or what the message is, period, and not your feelings about the message. Because I will tell you that the first time you hear someone say, this path you're following is not for you, you should try something different, you're going to take a burn to it. Like, they don't think I know what I want to do. Of course. You might not, really. But don't look at it that way. Evaluate what's being said to you and focus on the message. Take the emotion out of it so that you can really boil it down to the base unit of what is being said to you. Because that's where the truth lies, not in how you feel about the message that you received. Not even necessarily, those feelings could have a lot to do with the messenger and almost zero to do with the message. So you've got to keep that in the back of your mind while you're going through that discernment, that filtering of the information. All right? Fortitude. It takes a lot of fortitude and it takes guts to listen to feedback without having a reaction, without having an emotional outburst, without having an emotional response. That is real power. Sitting and listening and thanking them for their feedback without throat punching somebody. That is a power move, my friend. That is a power move. And it is something we should all wish to be able to do. Will we? Some of us will be successful. Some of us won't. So you want to try to be successful in not having a reaction that's emotional or is an outburst. You want to listen so that you can respond to the true message, not the way in which it made you feel. So I know we keep bringing it back to your feelings, your ego. It's important because sometimes we don't understand that our emotional immediate response is just our ego stepping in. All right? And then foundation. Feedback is how you reinforce your foundation, not tear it down. Just because someone is telling you to try a different approach or to do something different, or when they point out that this particular path or decision doesn't appear to be the best one for you, that is not someone giving you feedback and basically telling you the foundation of your life is crap. They're just telling you there might be a different path to the top. There might be a different way to get things done. And that's great. Don't we all want that plan and then a backup plan and a backup plan for the backup plan? I've discussed this, right? When y'all listen to the one episode about planning and failing to plan, these are just more tools in your arsenal that you can wield to get yourself to the finish line. There's more than one way to skin a cat. This sounds terrible to say. I know it does, but it's true. And I will tell you, story time again, my friends. I remember teaching new EMTs. And when you first start out teaching EMTs, you don't start out as the lead instructor. You start out like teaching hands-on skills. In New York State, that's called a certified lab instructor. And I remember sitting in one of the first classes that I taught in and hearing the lead lecturer tell the students, this is the way this gets done, and this is the only way. Do not deviate from this way or you will not pass the exam. What? That's crazy, right? That's crazy. Well, because I was in this individual's class and I was teaching for them, I sat in that class and I worked with the students. And one day, student gave me a demonstration of how to what we call sling and swath the patient. So somebody who's hurt their shoulder, their humerus, their elbow, their forearm, their wrist, their hand. And this individual did a great job in an unconventional manner that I had never seen before. And at this point, I'd been in EMS and pre-hospital care for probably at least 10, 15 years. And I had never seen anyone sling and swath a patient like this. But it was done appropriately, and it would have passed the state exam, the practical skills state exam. And I thought to myself, wow, there's more than one way to pass that exam. I mean, I think I inherently knew that because all of the times that I took it, I was able to pass, and I'm pretty darn sure I didn't do it exactly the way the instructors taught me each and every time. So I'm thinking to myself, why do we tell students my way is the only way? Why do we crush that individualism? Why do we crush that their ability to think for themselves and try something different? We shouldn't be doing that. So just because someone tells you this might be a better path, this might be a better tool to use, it does not negate the foundation of who you are at all. It's just building more blocks for you to use. So if you could try to reframe that in your mind, remember I've told you before, your brain is the strongest organ in your body. You can convince it of anything. Trust me, you can. All right. And then we've got function. Function. Every single comment a person makes to you has a purpose. Is it meant to build you? Is it meant to control you? Is it meant to confuse you? Hopefully, you're getting feedback from those that wish to build you and build you up so that you can improve and grow and reach your goals. Those that look to control you or to confuse you, they tend to be those gatekeepers we talked about in some of the earlier episodes. Again, if you bring this feedback through your discernment filter to see where it's coming from, boil that down to its base message, I think you'll be able to tell the difference between, messages that are meant to build you up versus messages that are meant to break you down, to control you, and to confuse you. Right? So every message has a function. You just have to categorize it appropriately and determine what you're going to internalize and use to continue that growth journey. And then we need to talk about the importance of fuel. The feedback that you receive should be fuel to get you better, but not to make you bitter. Okay? If it's your mentor giving you great advice and great feedback, that should be used to help you continue the climb. If someone gives you feedback and it's crappy feedback, just mark it up to, well, this is how it's going to be. This is their opinion. This is their perspective. It's not my perspective. So I'm not going to be interested in messing with that. I'm going to just leave it and move on I'll file it away, and I'm just gonna not really use it for anything other than realizing that maybe this person just didn't really understand my behavior or what I did. That's all you can do. And the next time that they provide you with feedback, maybe you'll look at it a little bit more closely, maybe with a different filter, maybe with deeper discernment, or you'll be more highly critical of that feedback because you know that in the past, their feedback hasn't really been what you needed. Don't, however, automatically discard their feedback if previous feedback that you received from them was crappy. There's a chance that maybe they've grown since the last time they gave you feedback, and now they understand what type of feedback they should really be giving. So take it, put it through those filters we talked about, determine whether or not it's really appropriate, adequate, or what you need. File it away. One thing I have learned from all of the many years of getting feedback from individuals has been this. I've watched people who are supposed to be guiding you, guiding me, mentoring me, preparing me for what's to come, to set me on the path that helps me along this journey. There are some individuals that after interacting with them, I realize, oh crap, that is not the way I want to be. Everything can be a lesson. Everything you experience can teach you something, whether it taught you a tool, a perspective, or something to do to get where you need to go, or it taught you don't ever do that. Don't ever be that way. Don't ever do that to somebody else, right? You're not the president I want to be, meaning president of the company. I'm not talking politics. We're not going there, friends, okay? All right. But maybe you're not the parent I want to be. Maybe you're not the sibling I want you to be, the friend I want you to be. I would never be that way to a friend, to a sibling, to a child, so on and so forth. So take it and understand that there's a lesson in every single interaction. It's either something that you want to do or it's going to be something that you never want to do. So make sure you don't do it and you carry that on. That way, you're not also going to end up impacting someone who will say at some point down the road, oh, wow, so-and-so gave me this advice, and I don't think it came from a place of caring and concern. I really feel like it came from a shitty place because it was more about control and confusion than it was about care and concern. So keep that in mind as you move forward so that you can understand that your impact on others is also part of your legacy. It's not just about what you accomplish, what you leave behind. It's also about how you are impacting those around you. And that is ultimately the final thing, because once you're gone, the only thing that's left behind is what others remember about you. And those that aren't remembered, well, that's the biggest travesty of all, because their legacy stops living at that point. So be impactful. Don't come up from a place of confusion and control, but come from a place of care and concern and use that to build up those around you. So remember, everybody, the F's of feedback. Stow away your fragile ego. Be flexible. Use messages as fuel. Make sure that you focus on the message outside of feelings. and follow these F's when you receive feedback so that as you move forward, you are using the best of the best to continue to improve. So your goal this week? Ask someone for feedback and accept it. And then put yourself through those 3 F's, 4 F's, 5 F's, 6 F's, 7 or 8 of them, and see where you stand. That's your homework this week. I want to thank you all for joining me in my corner of the multiverse, the Salty Goddess Podcast. I'll see y'all next hump day for your midweek guilty pleasure and motivation. Take care, y'all.